Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kadash. Double honors to all the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. So I came across this article by the New York Times, and as you can see, the title is The Ugly Side of New York's Outdoor Dining Renaissance. So let's look at the photo. You got a homeless Edomite, and then you got a homeless Jake over there, but next to the tree. So this whole COVID-19 pandemic it's had an immense effect on New York City economically. All right. So without further ado, let me go on to read some of the article. On Wednesday afternoon, at the height of the lunch hour, Nick Accardi sat in one of his three Hell's Kitchen restaurants, Tavola, on 9th Avenue, and looked out toward the empty tables that lined the street with a sense of grievance and envy. It was not as though the other restaurants nearby were doing better. They were not. But the situation was an anomaly amid the city's vibrant outdoor dining renaissance. Even later in the man's dining hour, in the no man's dining hour of 3 p.m., tables in the West Village of Tribeca were lively and full. So, as I read further down in the article, you'll come to see how the fact that they called this a renaissance, they say that New York City's outdoor dining is having a renaissance, you'll find it ironic. So, let me continue reading. Where was I? Okay, so the problem in Mr. Accardi's view was the vagrancy and disorder furthered by the city's placement of so many experiencing homelessness, among them addicts and those who are seemingly struggling with mental illness. So New York City's always had a problem with the homeless population. There's always been people homeless in New York City. So combine that with the economic woes from COVID-19, people losing their jobs, you got numerous problems. You got a big problem, So you got people that are losing their jobs, that have lost their jobs because of COVID. You got people that are being evicted, and so on. So this is a problem. It's a growing problem, and there's no coming back from this. The way I see it, So we continue. In hotels on the west side of Midtown, their suffering was obvious and immense. But what was he to do now that his own livelihood and fate of his workers seemed so precarious? So this guy, he owns 3 restaurants, and now the reality of it is that his own livelihood's at stake because of this COVID-19 pandemic. In an effort to stem the spread of COVID in the shelter system, the Department of Social Services has used more than 60 hotels around the city to more safely disperse those with nowhere to live, and measure that has been largely successful. Hell's Kitchen, though, has long been a repository for social maladies, strung out junkies hanging around the Port Authority. Let me just jump down. The pandemic has in effect created bitterly competing demands for our compassion, pitting need against need. A fire put out in one place creates eruption of another somewhere else. We are limited to 7 tables Mr. Accordi said, explaining COVID restrictions for outdoor dining. So, even if I am at full capacity, I am one, and I'm one of the busiest guys on the block. I can barely pay labor costs, let alone rent. So all these COVID-19 restrictions and stipulations are affecting these businesses. So to they're limited to seven tables. So that's affecting his pockets. This guy's pockets. He's not able to make enough money. He's not able to draw in enough people. So he's saying he could barely pay the cost of labor and his rent. So these restrictions, man, they're choking these business owners. And this is all done by design. Eight years ago, Mr. Accordi bought the building that housed Manangos, a 100-year-old grocery famous for its sandwiches, to open Tavola. In this January, he opened Tavola next door. Mr. Accordi lives in an apartment above Tavola, but the pandemic caused him to lose 3 of his 8 tenants. 3 of his 8 tenants. So this guy, yeah, he's got money. You know, he owns 3 restaurants. He lives in one of the tops of his restaurants, and he lost 3 of his 8 tenants. So this is affecting the rich or the middle class, whatever he is. It's affecting people, man. Either way, and really, the rich are really getting richer off this COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. You got him. He's a billionaire, and I forget the exact amount, but he made billions off this pandemic. You know. So this pandemic it's affecting people, in different ways. Last month, feeling desperate, he organized a petition of local business owners asking the city to do something that would make his stretch of 9th Avenue around 37th Street more appealing to people who find themselves put off by the notion of eating outside while people who might not be wearing masks touch them and ask for money or use tree beds as lavatories. So you got homeless people walking around on the streets while people are outside eating at these restaurants, and they're asking people for money, you know? And plus, who wants to see that? When you feel, well, some people may feel guilty, you know, sitting down, eating their nice dinner or their nice lunch, while you got homeless people rolling around, walking around, starving, doing bad. So that's not a sight that people want to see, and that's bad for business. And on top of that, you got the homeless people asking them for money and using tree beds as laboratories. So when you look up that word, a room or compartment with a toilet and washroom and wash bin and bathroom. So you got homeless people doing their business around these people while they're eating. So let me go on. Mr. Accordi often calls the police the Midtown South precinct, in which the crime rate itself remained flat last month, and just around the corner. Whenever he sees disruption at the restaurant, but by the time the police arrive, he said some number of customers will have fled. So there's nothing the police can do. I mean, there's nothing anybody can do, you know? The customers, they're leaving. They don't like the environment. Why, he wondered, should his neighborhood have to bear so much of the burden of various mismanaged crises? So, going back to the title, they said that there's a renaissance for New York City's outdoor dining. Well, how could that be when you got New York City restaurant owners losing customers due to the homeless population, you know, and also due to the pandemic, rules and stipulations. A lot of people, they don't want to eat outside. They want to eat inside. It's hot outside, and on top of that, you got to deal with the homeless asking you for money, and you got to look at them suffering. So this is just a mess. And like I said, this is all done by design. You know, they want the ultimate goal is for all these small businesses to be shut down, man. And they want it, and they want this economy to collapse, to usher in their new world order, and ultimately, they want a digital currency. All right, and that digital currency is going to be linked to your microchip, because ultimately they want to microchip all of us, which is known as the mark of the beast, pursuing to Revelation 13 and 16. So why, he wondered, should his neighborhood have to bear so much of the burden of various mismanaged crises? How was it that the Upper West Side could shout and so quietly get heard? This week, Mayor de Blasio decided to relocate 300 homeless men from a hotel that the Lucerne on West 79th Street, a move that followed an uproar from some in the community who galvanized, hired a lawyer, and threatened to sue the city if the newest occupants of the Lucerne were not dispatched elsewhere. The mayor said that he had visited the Upper West Side, that and what he saw was not acceptable and had to be addressed. So they trying to relocate 300 homeless people from the hotel, and it's not sitting right with some people, because you don't know where these homeless people are going to end up. You don't know if they're going to they don't know if they're going to be in their neighborhood, So as it happened, the move compelled a backlash to backlash, and as others in the community coalesced to express outrage over the apparent capitulation. I am devastated to see the city government treat these sheltered residents as chess pieces. So you got to divide. On one hand, you got people that just want these homeless people out of their neighborhoods, and on the other hand, you got people that have sympathy for these homeless people, and they don't want to see them all messed up. They want them to get help. So Mr. Cuddy's petition, which opened with the lines "Demand your right to quality of life in Hell's Kitchen," closed the homeless shelter in our neighborhood now. You can sign privately, did little to invite sympathy, and evoked a similar response. So this guy wants the homeless shelters to be closed down where his restaurants are and where he lives, because he doesn't want the homeless people around where he lives. Not long after the petition circulated, the Holy Apostles Soup Kitchen in Chelsea called out its harmful rhetoric and asked for a community-led effort to help mitigate the catastrophes of homelessness. So, it's a big mess. And another quote, I can barely pay my labor costs, let alone rent, said Nick Accordi. Outdoor dining has been successful in many neighborhoods, but not along the 9th and the 30s. So you got, some neighborhoods suffering more than others. So yeah, that's pretty much the point of the article. I pretty much reached the point. So this pandemic, man, this COVID-19 pandemic is affecting these businesses. All right, and right now you got a lot of people that are fleeing New York City. You know, they don't even want to stay there no more. And it never helped that the rent is it's crazy. You know, it's high. So New York City's got a big problem with the tax revenue. You know, the deficit is getting higher, and now they're talking about they're gonna have to lay off some employees that work for the city. You know, like um New York City Transit, you know, NYPD. You know, there's an article out on that because New York City, they just can't afford to pay. You know, for some of these workers. You know, and they're not collecting no more tax money. Well, not as much as they want to. So, what does Cuomo got to say about all this? Cuomo's in on all this. You know, he's 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 right up there with the elites. You know, he's backed. You know, he's in their pocket. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So Cuomo sees what's going on. He knows what's going on. How this COVID-19 is affecting the economy, and a lot of people are losing their livelihoods and are being homeless, and their businesses are being shut down. You know, he sees all this. So let me jump to some precepts. This is Tobit 2 and 6. Remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation. And you're seeing that right now. These customers at these restaurants, they gotta look at these homeless people as they're eating. And these homeless people, they're doing bad. They messed up. Who wants to see that? And the mirth, which is the entertainment, is being, it's being put into limitation. It's being turned into limitation. And the word limitation means a passionate expression of grief or sorrow. Weeping, scenes of limitation. All right. Next precept. Job 24 and 4. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. So these homeless people, they're being dispersed out of these homeless shelters because you got people that don't want them there, and now they're up in your neighborhood. Now they're affecting your businesses. So you got people that are doing bad, man. And these roles are reversing, you know? You got a lot of people that are homeless because of this pandemic. Lamentations 4 and 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. And you're seeing that right now. You got a lot of Edomites that are homeless, you know? And they say that one of the things that's really messing up Esau right now is the opioid epidemic, you know? You got a lot of people overdosing on heroin. A lot of them are overdosing. And they say that there's more white people there's more white people dying than being birthed. All right? So the roles are reversing. The tables are turning. So it says, the cup shall also pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shall make thyself naked. So these Edomites, man, they're being brought low. Being brought to a low state. and they're being revealed for the devils that they are, for what they are, you know? I mean, we all know that this pandemic is by design. It's a pandemic. And Esau knows that this is affecting people's livelihoods. And they don't give a damn. You know, the elites know. They know. So, let me see if I can get the next verse. Lamentations 4. Yeah, verse 22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So, your time is almost up, Esau. Your time is almost up. You know? So, let me get this last precept. Job 24 and 23, verse 23. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. So the Most High sees what you're doing. He sees what you Edomites are doing. He sees what you elites are doing. Verse 24, they are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. So this man is done, man. We're living in the last days, and this is the start of the ending. Well, you know, really Esau's been going down before, but man, you just see it every day, man. There's people doing bad, and you know, this pandemic's just messing people up. So that's what we have to look forward to, man. We got to look forward to the destruction of Babylon. But before the destruction, you know, Armageddon takes place. You know, the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, that prophecy has to be fulfilled. So there's gonna come a time when people are gonna be presented with the mark of the beast, the microchip, because ultimately that's a part of the New World Order. That's what the elites want. You know, they want a digital currency. So America, man, America's done, man. Babylon is finished. All right. So before the missiles drop, before them thermonuclear missiles drop and destroy this place, you're gonna see this place brought down to a low state. Like, things are only gonna get worse from here. And as it stands now, you know, the vaccine hasn't even come out. So we got to see how that's going to go, the COVID-19 vaccine. And I believe that the vaccine is just a prelude to the microchip, all right? So they're doing everything by gradualism. They're taking this place down. The elites are taking this place down by gradualism, all right? But that's it on that. Hope y'all found this video edifying. Shalom.